To create a new design and quotation, you first need to either find an existing client or create a new one. To create a new one, simply click on the New Client button, enter in the client's name and any of their details you want to include, and click Save. So for the minute we'll return back to our original client that we'd found, so click on the search button again, that opens up that client for us again. Now to create a design for them, simply click on the wardrobes icon on the top bar here, and that will take you into the wardrobe design area. So the first thing we need to do is to select the type of robe we want to build. You have a choice of 4. One is a wall-to-wall, 2 in either corner of the room, and then one which is a robe in the middle of the wall with a return end at each end. So we'll work on the wall-to-wall one. Click on that to select it. That brings up an initial robe set to a default range of sizes. Because it's 3 meters wide, it's automatically worked out that the most cost-effective number of doors would be 3, so that's been set to that. If we change the size to something smaller, then you'll see that changes to a 2-door robe, and the selection in the corner there is now 2 doors. So if we put this back to a 3 meter wide width, I'll just show you can also do it in a number of different doors if you wanted to. If your client wanted a 4 or 5 door robe in that size, that's also doable. Okay, the ceiling height and the robe height also link together. So if your maximum robe height you can build is a 2700 and your room is 2800, if you put that in, it will automatically add in a fascia for you. If we go back to something more sensible, that will remove the fascia and we'll change the width to something also slightly different. Okay, so now we're ready to start working on that wardrobe. So the first step is to select the materials and finishes for it. So if you click on the Style Options icon here, it will display the Style Options area. So to change the materials and finishes, simply click on a category in the list, in this case door panels, select the material, and then click again to select the finish. And then for the aluminium, come back to the initial list, so select the aluminium, again select the material, click again and select the finish. If your client wants a mirror door in the middle here, simply click on that door and then reselect that door as a mirror door. Alright, now we need to move on to do the interiors. So if we click on the interior design option at the top there, that brings us into that area. So initially you come into these presets in the left hand list here. These essentially enable you to design the whole wardrobe interior with just the one click. The idea being that these would be set up specifically for you, so whatever standard arrangements you have for perhaps parents, a wardrobe, daughter's wardrobe, son's wardrobe and so on, they're all preset in this list here and are named accordingly. So it makes it very quick and easy to get to a finished design. Selected one of the presets, you can now carry on and customize this to your client's exact requirements, which I'll show you in a minute how we would do that. For the minute, I'll just go back to the standard hanging arrangement just to show you some of the operations and ways you can customize the different sections, or units as we call them. So to work on a unit or a section, simply click on it on the drawing. First and the most basic of the operations you can do is to split that in two, in other words duplicate it, and it creates 2 of the same thing, half the original width of course. You can also change the width of a unit. So if we click on that section there again, change its width to 600 and hit the enter key. That will then adjust its width and take up the difference in the first variable width unit that it finds. So this unit's a variable width, which you can see from the indication at the top here. This one's a fixed width. So it means that if, as you work on the design, that will always remain at 600. It'll only be in the variable width ones that take up any differences as needed. Next thing you can do is to equalize the width of 2 or more sections. So simply click on one, hold the shift key down and click on the others that you want to be all the same width. Click on the equalize button and they're immediately all changed to the same width. And then finally you can delete a section simply by clicking on it again, hit the delete button, and again it will take up the difference in the first variable width unit. Alright, having done that, let's go back to our preset that we started with and we'll just do a bit more tweaking on this. So the first thing is they want some double hanging space, so we click the single hanging section and click the double hanging section. That does an immediate switch because they're both a variable width. And if we now go to change this one here, perhaps to some drawers, click on the drawers left hand list. Because drawers tend to come in fixed widths, you've got a list of those fixed width on the sidebar here. So we'll select the width we want. Because you can actually, in this particular set of data, it's possible to have fully customized width drawer units. You have the ability to change the width as well. We'll leave it at 575. Now to change this to that, we just simply go across here, click on the switch icon, and that will change those shelves into drawers. And notice that as with the shelf unit, we've still got an infill down here to push the drawers away from the jamb, so there's no problem with one fouling the other. Okay, a couple of last things. If we split this end section here in two, and maybe change one of those into a hat shelf. All right, so client's happy with that design. We can now move on and show them the quote. Before we do that, we'll just save the design, just in case. So the first time you come to save a design, you'll see the client that it's being saved and attached to. So you can put in a name for it and click save. All right, so now if we move across to the quote area, we start with the quote summary, which gives you an overview of who the quote's for, the name of it, quote number, etc. Also a list of all the specifications for it, so the materials and finishes that we've selected will be listed down, including all the internal finishes. At the bottom section here we have a notes area. We've pre-populated that with some standard notes, but you can add in whatever notes you want and they will appear on the client's quote. And then right at the bottom here, the total price, including installation. So to present a quote to the client, you will click print quote. That will generate a printed version of that quote, complete with the drawings, exterior drawing, internals, design, the same specifications, any notes that you've added, any sundries that you've added to the design, the total price, and then whatever terms and conditions you have, and then finally a place for them to sign and to accept the order. So this can either be printed through your printer, or you can save it as a PDF and attach it to an email as you'd expect. I'll leave that. Now you may be wondering where that price comes from. So while we've been working on the design in the background, the system has been creating a whole list of all the components that make up that wardrobe. So we're all the way down in this case to shelf pins and cams and dowels. Everything's priced. Everything priced according to a set of rules as to how those materials should be priced in terms of linear meterage, square meterage. Whether you can reuse the offcuts will also change the price. So very accurate and very much of the minute price, because again, those prices will be the accurate up-to-date material cost that it's working from. And finally, we'll just take a quick look at the cut list. So we click on print cut list over on the side here. That will generate and display a list of all the components collated together this time. So all the dividers are put together, cams and dowels together, etc., etc. So this is intended for your factory, obviously. So it's got all the detail they would need in terms of dimensions, material and finish to actually pluck out of that what needs to be built. So these cut lists can either be all together as this one is, or it can be split out into different production areas. So you might have one for the internals, one for the doors, one for the aluminium, etc., etc. Entirely up to you. But in each case, it has the client and the job number and the job name description at the top of each of them, so everybody knows which one they're working on. And again, this can be printed or displayed on screen, or printed to a PDF and attached to other documents if you needed to. So that completes the little introduction to designing a wardrobe on here. Just bear in mind very much that this software is still very much in the beta stage, so there will almost certainly be bugs in there. So if something goes wrong, I apologise in advance. It would be really useful if you can let us know if something does go awry, what you were doing as you did it, as it went wrong, and that way we can go in and fix it, and we'll very quickly update new versions so that these things get dealt with and we get to a more stable version. So thanks for your time.